something big.
Right.
The Enforcement Directorate was out in force conducting raids all over the place. Multiple properties, all with one thing in common. They were linked to K.N. Nehru Tamil Nadu's municipal administration minister.
Wow.
Yeah, and this wasn't some small-time thing. The whole thing revolves around a 30 crore rupee loan.
30 crore.
30 crore from Indian Overseas Bank way back in 2013. The purpose, a wind energy project. All good intentions, green energy, infrastructure. But the thing is, this project, it never really got off the ground.
So we're talking about a green energy project that's now the center of a pretty serious investigation. It's amazing how something that starts with such a positive goal can end up like this. And a loan from over a decade ago, that's got to be more than just a simple business mistake, right?
Right. It's like peeling back layers of an onion. It's not just the minister himself, but his brother, K.N. Ravichandran, a big name in True Value Homes, TVH.
Ah, TVH.
Yep. And then there's Nehru's son, Arun Nehru, who's a member of parliament for Perambalur.
Yeah.
It really seems like a whole family affair, a business network right at the heart of it all. So for everyone listening, our goal today is to try and unpack this whole financial story. Where did the money go? What are the implications? We're going to try and make sense of it all, cut through the noise and give you the key takeaways. What do you think?
I'm in. Sounds like we've got a fascinating deep dive ahead of us. It really does make you wonder how these things can happen. A seemingly simple financial tool, this IOB InstaFund scheme back in 2013, it's supposed to be a good thing, right? Fast-track loans for important projects like infrastructure. But sometimes, I guess, that kind of speed can create opportunities for things to go wrong.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you've got this company, Trudum EPC India Private Ltd. They're the borrower. They pitched this big 100.8 megawatt wind energy project in Tirupur district. You could almost picture it, right? Clean energy powering the region, progress. Except it seems like that promise, well, it kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, and not just fizzled out, it went completely south. By June 2016, that loan, it was officially a non-performing asset.
NPA.
Exactly, an NPA, meaning they basically stopped making payments. Huge red flag for the bank, right? It means the project wasn't making money like it was supposed to, maybe not even operating at all.
So that's a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about small change here. And things just kept getting worse. Fast forward to December 2021. IOB's Chennai regional office, they're not just reporting a bad loan. They're alleging that funds were siphoned off. The claim was that money was channeled into shell companies linked directly to the TVH group.
Uh-huh.
The same TVH associated with Minister Neru's brother.
Right, TVH. And those shell companies, that's a whole other layer to this. They often don't have any real business operations. It's like trying to follow a trail that just disappears. Makes it incredibly hard to figure out who really benefited and how.
Exactly. And then you add in that K.N. Ravichandran and TVH Homes were guarantors for the loan in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder, was there some self-dealing going on here?
Absolutely.
So the bank, obviously they wanted answers. They called in the forensic auditors, the financial detectives who follow the money trail, looking for any signs of foul play.
Right.
And what did they find? A whopping 26 crore rupees of that loan. Vanished. Never went near a wind turbine.
26 crore rupees, that's a huge chunk of the original loan. And for it to just disappear, there's got to be a story there. These forensic auditors, they're like financial archaeologists. They dig through layers of transactions, connect the dots, and try to reconstruct what really happened. It's a painstaking process, but it can uncover some incredible things.
Absolutely. And in this case, the money trail they uncovered is a winding one. It goes from Trudum EPC to Sri Balaji Traders, then to Mark Green Developers.
Okay.
Then Ecodom Power Private Ltd.
Wow.
And finally, it ends up at TVH India Private Ltd. One article we saw called it a scenic detour.
Scenic detour, huh? Yeah, that's one way to put it. I guess you could say it's like the money went on a little vacation before reaching its final destination. But we know it's more than that, right? This kind of convoluted path is often a deliberate attempt to make things harder to track. Every step adds another layer of complexity.
Right, it's obfuscation 101. And then you start looking at the people involved and the connections become even clearer. So there's Selvamani Thiagaraj, and he was the director of Sri Balaji Traders, one of those stops on the money's journey. But wait, there's more. He was also a former director at Trudum EPC, the original borrower. And get this, he was the former MD of TVH Energy Resources. It's not just random companies. There's a clear pattern of overlapping leadership.
Yeah, those connections are really starting to paint a picture. It's not just Thiagarjan. You've also got Arun Nehru, the MP and Minister Nehru's son.
Oh, right.
He was a director at Ecodom Power Private Ltd., another one of those intermediary companies. And here's the clincher. Their email domain was tvh.in. It's like a little breadcrumb trail leading right back to the TVH group. That shared email domain suggests a much closer relationship than just an arm's length transaction. You don't usually share email domains with companies you're not closely affiliated with.
Right. It's all starting to add up. So with all this information coming to light, the bank decided it was time for a field trip. In 2016, an IOB chief manager actually visited the site in Tirepur, where this wind energy project was supposed to be.
What did they find?
Well, keep in mind, this was 3 years after the project deadline.
Okay.
And what was there? Nothing. No construction, no turbines, just an empty field. It pretty much confirmed what the bank was already suspecting, that this project, it was all smoke and mirrors.
That's a pretty damning discovery. It's one thing to see financial irregularities on paper, but when you go to the actual site and there's literally nothing there, that's pretty conclusive evidence that something went wrong.
So the bank's conclusion, and it's a pretty reasonable one, is that the 30 crore rupees, it wasn't meant for wind power at all. It was meant for something else entirely. And this is where the story takes a bit of a political turn.
Yes, the political angle. In a case like this, it's almost inevitable.
Right. So the DMK, Mr. Nehru's party, they're saying these ED raids are politically motivated.
It's a common defense in these situations, especially when you have high-profile figures involved and elections are on the horizon.
Exactly. Their argument, which was put forward by DNK's NR Ilongo, basically comes down to timing.
Okay.
He points out that the CBI case was opened 3.5 years before these ED raids, and the loan itself is 12 years old. Why the sudden urgency now? It's a question that a lot of people are asking. Of course, we're just reporting on these claims, just laying out the facts as we see them.
Right. It's important to be transparent and present all sides of the story. The timing of these kinds of investigations can often raise eyebrows.
Okay, so now let's bring things up to date. April 7th and 8th, 2025. The CBI has already filed its charge sheet. It names Ilayaraja Thamizharan and Eruvanithi Thamizharan, the directors of Trudem EPC, and those shell companies we talked about. But now the Enforcement Directorate, they're stepping in and they're specifically looking into money laundering.
Right. So the CBI is focused on the initial alleged fraud, the conspiracy, all that. But the ED is taking it a step further. They want to know, where did the money go after it left Trudem ETC? Was it laundered, moved around to hide its origins?
Exactly. And the ED's operation is big. Simultaneous raids in Chennai, Coimbatore, Tiruchi. They're not messing around. It seems like they think they're close to uncovering something significant. The big question still remains, though. Where did that 30 crore rupees actually end up?
It's like a puzzle with a few missing pieces.
Yeah.
The ED is trying to put those pieces together to get the full picture.
To make this a little easier to understand, imagine you take out a loan to open a new restaurant. But instead of using it for equipment and supplies, you funnel it through a bunch of your relatives' businesses. Businesses that don't really seem to be doing much of anything. And then eventually that money, it ends up in a completely different venture. The lender feels cheated, and the authorities start asking questions.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It boils down to a breach of trust. You're given money for a specific purpose, and you use it for something else entirely. And in this case, we're talking about a lot of money. Public money.
And the irony here is pretty stark. A project meant to create clean energy ends up creating a whole lot of dirty laundry.
This really makes you think.
Yeah.
And the shell companies, they're like those Russian nesting dolls. You keep opening them up, hoping to find something real, but it's just another empty shell.
Yeah, it's a classic way to hide assets and make it hard to follow the money. But just imagine what could have been done with 30 crore rupees. Infrastructure projects, schools, hospitals. It highlights the real cost of this kind of alleged financial misconduct. It's about more than just money. It's about accountability.
Absolutely. It's about making sure that public resources are used responsibly and that everyone plays by the rules.
Right. And it's important to remember these are still allegations. The legal process will ultimately determine what happens.
Yes. Innocent until proven guilty.
So to wrap things up, we've taken a deep dive into these ED raids targeting those connected to Minister K.N. Nehru. We've talked about that 2013 loan, the wind energy project that never happened, the claims of money being siphoned off through a network of companies, and the ongoing investigation.
It's a complicated story with lots of moving parts, family ties, business dealings, political maneuvering. It really highlights the challenges of financial transparency, especially when you have powerful people involved.
And that brings us to a question for you, our listeners. Given all that we've discussed, what do you think this tells us about big financial dealings in India? How do politics and economics intersect? It's definitely something to think about.
It's a question with no easy answers. but it's a question worth asking. This case is a microcosm of a much larger issue.
We're not drawing any conclusions today. The investigation is still going on, and the courts will have the final say. But this is a story worth paying attention to. It raises important questions about transparency, accountability, and responsibility. It's a reminder that even in the pursuit of clean energy, things can get messy. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks for having me.